Welcome to I Said What I Said, a sports podcast giving you opinions not heard anywhere else. I'm your host, Brad Wakai, alongside my co-host, Tyson Gentry. Tyson, week six recap, man. We're here. I just can't believe already that we're week 6 into the NFL football season. Isn't that crazy?
It's pretty wild. People are dying left and right on the field. This was one of the bigger weeks, I think, for like big name injuries, and it just gets worse and worse. And I thought we'd lead the week for sure by mentioning the Montana Grizzlies taking down the Idaho Vandals on the road, getting back to Low Brown Stein, but whatever, dude. We'll keep it to the NFL.
Well, that's a college episode, Tyson. Yeah, I know you're all excited over there. It's a big win for Bobby Houck and the boys, but they came here to listen to our pro football takes, and because there's a lot that we got to get to. And so what we're diving into, there was upsets. This was a week where you were either upset or you were getting close. We're going to talk about the big boys going down, the Eagles and the Niners. We'll talk about some of the scares. And then we got our new little favorite game here. We got a replacement index here, talking about 6 quarterbacks who could be on the verge of getting replaced and what we think about it. 1 being the lowest and the 5 being replace them now. So we'll get into that. But first and foremost, you know the drill. If you're watching on YouTube, smash the like button. If you're listening in podcast form, go ahead and pause and give us a 5-star rating, or say whatever in the comments if you haven't yet already. We always appreciate any time that you guys can help us out. It does mean a lot to us. So let's dive into it then. Big boys go down. And Tyson, as Eagles fans, we were kind of hearing, the 49ers, best team, and it was feeling so good that they went on the road against the Cleveland Browns with P.J. Walker and lost. And then the Eagles followed that up by a complete stinker in the second half, scoring 0 points to lose to the New York Jets. So I'll just toss it to you. 2 of the bigger names in the NFC, probably 2 of the best teams in the NFC, lose on Sunday.
Well, we weren't just hearing that the Niners were the best team in the NFC. We were also saying that, so we're guilty a little bit there. Dude, it's the NFL. Like, these weeks happen all the time, and it just didn't happen for 6 weeks. So then we just decided that this year was going to be different. It's impossible. Like, to win 6 games in a row in the NFL is an insane thing to do. Luckily, there's a couple teams in the NFL every year that seem to be able to do it and kind of flip the perception a little bit. It's fine. Like, the Browns defense is really good. You actually handicapped that perfectly on our preview show on our Thursday, talking about how, hey, Jim Schwartz plays this Kyle Shanahan offense really well. And then on the flip side, Eagles come out, look awesome, 18-play drive, go 90 yards, score a touchdown, and then nothing for the next 3 quarters. And sometimes that happens. It's frustrating. It sucks. There's no real thing you can point to. Both, the Niners fans right now, is cold weather going to be an issue for us when it's rainy? Like, maybe those concerns about Purdy's hands were real, blah, blah, blah. And then in Philly, it's, burn the coordinator at the stake kind of deal. When the reality of the situation is, it's really hard to win 6 times in a row in the NFL. And, Brad, what do the Jets and the Browns have in common? Insane defenses, great defensive lines, able to take you out of what you want to do. There's no free wins in the NFL, and it sounds corny, but it's true.
Yeah, and I think when we talk about the Jets and when we did the preview, we were kind of saying, they're not as good as people think. And I think a lot of that had to do with the metrics when Zach Wilson was still figuring out this offense. So the defense was on the field a ton. So I think some of those things got skewed a little bit. But we know, and they were missing their top 3 cornerbacks and the top 3 members of the secondary, and they still put together a great performance. Now, that was aided by Lane Johnson getting hurt, so there was a ton of more pressure on Jalen Hurts. He also made horrible throws. But I think on the larger point, like you said it, these weeks happen. Like, good teams lose. There's a reason why the 1972 Dolphins are the only team that's ever gone undefeated. And there's only one reason why a team really has ever gotten close, that New England Patriots team, who couldn't close the deal in the Super Bowl. But Tyson, this is what I want to kind of point to here. The 49ers, so they had 3 straight home games. New York Giants cruised. Cardinals, pretty much a cruiser there at home. And then they had the big Sunday night game against the Dallas Cowboys, a huge one. Then they have to go on the road in inclement weather to face a Browns defense that's given them trouble under this coordinator. Then you have the Eagles on the other side, who had to go to Tampa. Then they went across the country to LA, and then had to come back and then face the Jets. I think when we're sitting, we kind of don't take these scheduling impacts or these scheduling spots into account enough, like as fans, like as bettors, you certainly should. But I think as fans, we're just like, well, it's the Eagles against the Jets, and so, they should kill them. And then and we were thinking the same thing, and it looked like it was going to happen that way. But the reality is, when these guys are traveling, and it's not like they're in coach or anything, like they're flying private, but you still are logging those miles. You're still out of your routine. Those things do add up, especially in a long season.
Well, and on top of it, it doesn't help when two MVP favorites turn in some of their worst performances we've ever seen. And those things happen too. Like Mahomes can throw 4 picks and the Chiefs win, and we kind of, sweep it under the rug and you just store that one away in the memory bank. Not everybody is the Kansas City Chiefs. Not everybody's Patrick Mahomes. It's hard to win a game when you don't play well, let alone perfect. And these guys, like Purdy, had his worst game ever in the NFL, and Jalen Hurts made some of the worst throws I've ever seen him make.
On the flip side, the Buffalo Bills survived a scare against the New York Giants on Monday Night Football, and they were down 6-0 at half. They had to score 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, and that last play on the 1-yard line probably should have been a penalty and a retry for the Giants, but they escaped, and they would have dropped the 3-3 if they did. They are not going to have as much panic there because they're sitting at 4-2 and they won. But the reality of the situation is that's a banged up defense. That is a team that's dealing with massive amounts of injuries. Where are you at with the Bills?
Well, that was an offense that couldn't get anything going. It's like, no matter how hard we try to make James Cook a thing, it doesn't feel like, Buffalo is ever going to be good at running the ball. It's not. I don't even know if it's a James Cook issue. He looks fine to me when he gets the ball. It's maybe a scheme issue or just the way they want to do things. And Gabe Davis is, send him 20 yards down the field and let that thing fly. And there's nothing else in that offense that they really like. They'd rather give the short area touches to Khalil Shakir or whoever else. The offense goes as Diggs goes, man. And when you're able to, I won't say limit him because he still had a good game, but like if he can't pop off, it all of a sudden like things look harder for Buffalo. I'm not overly concerned just because I don't think anybody else in the AFC has given you a real reason to doubt that Buffalo is among the top in that conference, but they're like the issues are still the issues. The same ones that we've had for 3-4 years with this team, they didn't go away. And maybe it's better for them to be sitting here at 4-2 instead of the world beaters they've been the last couple of seasons until the end of November.
So last thing here too, before we get into our replacement index, I just want to mention that everybody was looking at the Lions and the sharp guys were like, hey, Bucks, that's the play here. Tyson said, no, Lions turn in a good performance, win 20-6. That was a spot that the Detroit Lions in the past would have lost. That's a spot where them going on the road outside, we all know the Jared Goff thing. He turned in a performance of 353 and 2 touchdowns. The offense continued to move the ball. This team is a machine right now. And I think there's still some hype behind them because it's Lions and it's fun. People are saying, I think rightfully so, top 3 NFC team. But they just feel different this year. They're built differently in terms of what a roster construction looks like.
They're physical, dude. They fly around and they just want to hit you and then they figure everything out. Remember when Sean McVay was being held back by Jared Goff, and Jared Goff would never be able to win a Super Bowl. And now it kind of feels like Jared Goff not only can win a Super Bowl, but he's at least the Flacco tier of elite. I don't think he's actually broken into the truly like upper tier guys. But what else do you want to see from this dude? And like, we'll see this week what the Jahmyr Gibbs experiment looks like when he's the only one out there, because it doesn't sound like David Montgomery's going to play. I don't think that's probably going to add anything new to the offense, but if it does, look out. And I know that we save picks for the Thursday show. However, you can go get Dan Campbell and Mike McDaniel right now at Coach of the Year, split your money up and ensure a profit. And I don't see a way that it's not one of those two walking home with the award.
Okay, let's get into it. I'm excited for this one, baby. This is the replacement index, our first edition of this, as we are taking a look at 6 quarterbacks in the NFL. Now, like I said off the top, we're going to go through a scale of 1 to 5. 5 being bench them right now. They deserve to be sitting on the bench. Put the backup in. 1, come on. What are you guys talking about? Replace the quarterback? We're 6 games into this thing. So let's start it off here. And it's been a guy who's been much maligned recently, and that is Desmond Ridder, coming off a horrendous performance against the Washington Commanders. You saw the memes. Arthur Smith just holding his head, couldn't believe what he was watching. As Ridder, yes, he threw for 307, but 3 horrendous interceptions.
That was tough. As somebody with the Atlanta Falcons money line this weekend, that was also included on multiple parlays, that was a tough pill to swallow. I'm going to start it off here, Brad. I think if we're going to say 5 is replacing tomorrow, then I'm okay with a 4 here, because I think the worst thing that could ever happen to the Atlanta Falcons I guess not the worst thing that could ever happen because we've seen that play out, right? But one of the worst things possible for this iteration of this team is Desmond Ridder wins 9 games and makes the playoffs, and then now you don't really know what to do because you're not sitting at the Caleb Williams, Drake May kind of tier of guys, and you're more looking at, hey man, if we grab Penix in the second round, which by the way, I'm all the way on board with that. But this dude, there will never be a Super Bowl. There probably won't be a playoff win with Desmond Ridder under center for at least this version of the Atlanta Falcons team. I don't know about any version of any team in the NFL right now. Like this dude he's a ceiling shrinker, and he like the floor is non-existent. We saw this offense, like there's no real excuse that they put up 16 points against the Washington Commanders, and Washington had one of their better defensive games of the year still. Like Kyle Pitts is back. Drake London looks like the guy that we thought should have gone top 10. Bijan Robinson looks as advertised. How are we scoring 16 points?
I'm with 4 as well, and it's mainly because Taylor Heineke's his backup. I think if there was like an Andy Dalton behind him, I'd say a 5. This is the reality, and this was my concern about the Atlanta Falcons and the hype that was coming in surrounding this team. Yes, Bijan Robinson's a really good prospect. Tyson, I think, was drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit. I think he still is. I think we need to start having some conversations about Bijan Robinson because his production last week against a team that got gashed on the ground a few times, but
he doesn't get those touches.
Well, I'm saying that tongue in cheek because in reality, when you're stacking the box 8 guys, like,
and those are Algier touches,
yeah. But the thing about, if we want to open this offense up, right? Like, in all honesty here, if we want to talk about Bijan Robinson being that explosive playmaker, actually having hat-on-hat type of opportunities where he's going to be able to get in space, you need a quarterback who can throw the ball down the field consistently. Now, it's going to look great, 300, woo, that's awesome. But he makes mistakes constantly. And he has the 7th worst EPA per play by his quarterbacks. And if you take out backups, I mean, do we believe Josh Dobbs? He's tied with Josh Dobbs.
You can end it there.
Aiden O'Connell's on here. I mean,
that's good enough.
Man. So that's my thing with Ridder. So that's why I'm sitting at a 4 here, because if it was anybody but Heineke, I think I'd be pushing the button like we need to replace him now. Now, I think Heineke would give them a better option to win, but like you said, then we don't really know anything here. So that's the concern I have with replacing him right now. So 4 for both of us for Desmond Ridder. How about your boy, Derek Carr?
I'm gonna say 3. Like I think the only way that this like escalates to a 5, because you got to put context into here. Like they traded for this guy, the guy's getting paid. It's not exactly as easy as hopping into your Madden franchise and just dumping somebody you don't want anymore. However, like we've seen situations change quickly, and if something pops up that allows the New Orleans Saints to be able to put the ball in the end zone with any sort of frequency, that's an option that needs to be explored. Because what's the real difference between the Derek Carr-led New Orleans Saints and outside of like Ian Book? Who else have we seen that's like Jameis Winston and Derek Carr? I don't think there's a $40 million difference between those two quarterbacks, at least the way they operate this offense. And we've never been Derek Carr guys. I'm higher on him than you are. But if you didn't see this coming, then I don't know if you've watched Derek Carr play football.
What, Tyson? Remember, if you just give this guy a defense, he's winning the Super Bowl. Remember, that was the whole thing in Oakland and then Las Vegas.
2017 is a long time ago.
Oof, man. I mean, so I'm with 3 here. I don't want to be boring, but I am agreeing with you because I do think that Jameis Winston would stretch the ball down the field. But do you want to have a more variable offense and more variance in that offense where you have a higher turnover possibility? Because this is a good defense. Why would you want to put them in a situation where they're going to have to defend more short fields if Jameis Winston turns into the turnover machine that he's been? So I think with the shoulder injury, I thought it was crazy that he came back the first week. I would have started Geno. I would have told Derek, like, come on, man, like you're not healthy. Let's see what this guy can do. But sitting here right now as he continues to recover from that shoulder injury, it just makes no sense to me. They gave him a big contract. They're guaranteeing him a lot of money. I don't know why you would turn the keys over, especially in this situation there and now. Mac Jones of the New England Patriots in his 3rd season looked really good his rookie year, was horrible his 2nd year, and now it's just the wheels have fallen off the Mac Jones train in New England. What is your replacement index for the young QB in New England.
Oh, I'm breaking the glass. I'm pushing the button. I'm pushing the button on this entire organization. This is a 5 for me, dude. This guy stinks. This guy stinks. He doesn't give a. He doesn't care. It's like we get on Kyler Murray all the time for bad body language. Mac Jones is teaching the class that Kyler attends on body language. Like this dude is. It's miserable, and it's not all his fault. I understand that the roster stinks. The coaching all of a sudden is not good. And all the guys that you were relying on to come in and help haven't helped. That being said, they're not as bad as some of these box scores. Or like if you're watching the games and you see them lose by 35 points, you're like, damn, this is a dumpster fire. Some of those are free. Like sometimes he's just giving the ball away. And I understand there's no separation. The pass catchers stink. There's not a lot of separation for a lot of these dudes in the NFL that we're not even going to bring up today on this replacement index. Mac Jones is a replacement level quarterback. And I think he's been a replacement level quarterback since the day he got his card turned in at number 10. Dude, I never saw it with this guy. And I think that the only thing saving him is that Bailey Zappi can't play and Malik Cunningham isn't like a true quarterback.
So I completely agree with everything you just said. And for that reason, Tyson, I'm going to 1.
I knew it.
Why would you replace him? This is beautiful. The Patriots need a franchise QB. You have 2, maybe 3 coming out of this draft. Why the hell would you replace one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL? This is a perfect tank job. You know what I mean? Like
the Spurs. This is like it's mirror image. Yeah,
exactly. So yes, I know it's frustrating. And Patriots fans, listen, you've been so spoiled for so long. You can suck it up like the rest of our franchise. We've gotten our teeth kicked in every once in a while in the NFL. And sit through a year what's actually going to be best for your franchise. Don't replace Mac Jones. He gives you the best chance to get the number 1 overall pick.
They got pole position right now, brother.
They're looking pretty good. That's for sure. How about Geno Smith? I mean, he's coming off of a big season last year, obviously, when he won Comeback Player of the Year. Hasn't quite looked the same for Geno. He's coming off a bad performance against the Bengals last week, and I know there's some people frustrated that they think he's the one holding back this offense so far. So are you turning the keys over to the backup quarterback up in Seattle?
I'm not giving the keys to Drew Lock. I think I don't know if I'd give the keys to Drew Lock in New England right now. But Geno, like it's a concern. You pay him a little bit of money. It wasn't like as crazy as everyone was talking about in the offseason, especially because the contract is fairly easy to eat or get out of if you're Seattle. But you go out and you draft Jackson Smith and Jigba at pick 20 in the first round. Okay, that's going to add another little new layer to this offense. So you're not expecting him to walk in and take Tyler Lockett's targets. But until this last game, the dude was on pace to have, 12 catches and 200 yards this season. And obviously this was his best game this season. I think he caught 4 for 40. Like we're not talking about somebody lighting the world on fire. I'd say a 2 right now just because – like this is Seattle. This is Pete Carroll. This dude wants to make the playoffs. They are not going to push the button until it becomes abundantly clear they have no shot at making the playoffs here. But Geno's been like a lot worse than last season. And if you look at the wide receiver, like if you're playing fantasy football, like you're happy with what DK's done for you. You're happy with most of what Locke has done for you. These dudes are getting saved by touchdowns. And yeah, that's a good thing for Geno Smith to be able to do. Sometimes they're wide open. Like it's not Geno's not making the plays here, and Seattle wants to run the ball. That's no secret. It becomes a lot harder for Kenneth Walker, for Zach Charbonnet to run the ball when all of a sudden defenses aren't as scared of DK Metcalf or Tyler Lockett, of burning them. Like when's the last time you watched a Seattle Seahawks game and thought this team could win a playoff game? It's been since week 12 of last season, probably.
Yeah, probably.
He's been getting worse for almost a year now, man.
Yeah. No, I agree. But God, I hate to do this again with you too, but I'm agreeing with you here at 2. I was going to originally go with 1, but I do think if we continue to see some regression from Geno, and listen, 1 good year, is that really going to make us say this guy's an elite level guy when we've seen Geno Smith in other spots and it's not been great? So I think we got to keep that in mind. But I always like to bring up these EPA per play numbers from Sumer Sports because I think it puts context into some things that we think that we're seeing or we know that we're seeing. And again, it's expected points added per play when we look at these numbers. Geno's 0.01. That's Jimmy Garoppolo 0.02, Kirk
Right.
Cousins 0.02, Lamar Jackson 0.03. On the downward side, Jordan Love negative 0.01, Derek Carr negative 0.04, Justin Fields negative 0.06. We got Baker and Dak Prescott 0.05. So in that area, right? But it becomes, okay, when you're giving him that contract, and if you want to be in the postseason, like you said, Pete Carroll obviously wants to be, you get to that point where, okay, if he's not going to be that type of guy for us, do we maybe look at making a change? Now, the issue is, Tyson, like you said, it's Drew Lock on the sideline. It's Drew Lock in the back. So I'll put it at 2 because of the fact that I agree with you that we've seen some regression out of him, and I do think that's alarming if you're the Seattle Seahawks. Now, I'm surprised this is on here, but you wanted to talk about him. So Sam Howell, young quarterback for the Washington Commanders. This is his first season starting as quarterback. So I'll throw it to you. What do you see out of him?
Sam Howell's going to keep his job. Sam Howell's going to be the starting quarterback of the Washington Commanders next season. And I don't think there's anything anybody can do about it. The only way I can see this guy not having his job is either like a colossal meltdown to end the year here, which is certainly possible, or when Ron Rivera loses his job, the new guy, whoever he is, that takes over as the head coach, wants somebody else in the building. Sam Howell's been more than fine sometimes, and he's been bad other times, and the Commanders are going to be A-okay with that, dude. I don't think there's nobody on the street right now that you're going to go grab. They're going to be picking too late, presumably, at this point in the season to really like talk themselves into, okay, we can make a move up to this pick to get this guy, because they're going to be in the mid-teens, and it's going to be, mortgage the future for somebody you're not totally sure in. I haven't been like super impressed with Sam Howell, but I was also a little higher on him coming out of college, and I think a lot of people were. The dude is fine, and I think that fine gets to play in the NFL for a couple seasons. And next year, we might be sitting here saying it's a 5, but I'll be shocked. Right now, I'll sit here and say it. I'll be shocked if Sam Howell's not the starting quarterback in Washington in the year.
Oh, you just can't replace Sam Howell. I mean, I think he's been serviceable, beyond serviceable for me. This is a horrible offensive line. It's a top 3 unit in the NFL. The guy's mobile. Guy makes big plays. He pushes the ball down the field. I don't know what more you can ask for from a young quarterback. He seems fearless. He stands back there, makes throws, some of them big-time throws. I think he's going to grow into this thing, man. I like what I've seen from Sam Howell. I think I'm more bullish on him than you are, just based on what I've seen so far. But I mean, both of us are sitting here at 1. We didn't even throw it up on the screen just because
it's a 1.
We've heard some chatter about, maybe
it's so ridiculous. It's so dumb. Like,
yeah,
we need to get Jahan Dotson the ball more so Sam Howell can't be the quarterback. Like, a lot of these takes are, they're just. Are you watching?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Okay, let's close here. Russell Wilson, very interesting situation here in Denver, right? You pay a ton of money for Russell Wilson in terms of draft capital and the contract. You try to pair him with an offensive mind, Nathaniel Hackett. That goes south. So then you pay, some people say overpay for Sean Payton, draft capital and contract. And now we're in the situation here where they're horrible once again. And so what are you thinking? Are you looking to replace Russell Wilson?
I think 6 months ago, this was a silly question. Like, this was a 1, even when the Broncos stunk, because it was like they picked Russell Wilson. But then they go out and they pick Sean Payton, who is essentially going to operate as a general manager going forward. And this isn't his guy. And he doesn't look necessarily thrilled sometimes with what Russell's doing. The wide receiver core has been wildly overrated for 3 seasons now. How long has Judy been in the league? 4? This is Judy's 4th season.
4th, I believe, yeah.
So however long that's been, we've been pretending that this pass catching unit's top of the line. They're not. Russell Wilson's at a 3 for me, Brad, and I think it's closer to a 5 than I would have ever imagined. I think that there's a real world where Sean Payton goes, yeah, I'm sick of this. Like, I don't want this dude around because he doesn't let me be the boss. Like, Sean Payton wants to essentially run things as the CEO, and you're not second guessing his opinion. That's kind of the way it feels. And Russell Wilson is gonna second guess, and he's certified. And I don't like Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson won a Super Bowl. Russell Wilson has been to multiple Super Bowls. Russell Wilson's won a ton of big games. He's earned the right to be like, I don't know, man. The flip side is the offense sucks, and it's not Russell Wilson's fault, but he's way easier to blame than the head coach you just paid a bunch of money and went out and traded for.
Has not been pretty. has not been pretty at Denver.
You're
That
AFC
game,
champions.
dude, that game on Thursday was an absolute joke from the offense. Like, I couldn't believe what I was watching, and we were texting the whole time. Just, it was insane. They might as well have been running a wing T formation. Just some of what, just a lack of creativity. It was so nuts to watch. But I'm sitting here at a 1. Now, I may be the last Russell Wilson believer. Even I, after Thursday, was like, my God, I'm selling stock because this thing's Lehman Brothers. Just get out while you can because it's burning to the ground. But again, EPA per play. Russell Wilson, 0.03. That's the same as Lamar Jackson. That's better than Kirk Cousins. That's been better than Geno. That's been better than Derek Carr by a good amount. Trevor Lawrence, negative 0.08. Way better than him this season. Deshaun Watson, negative 0.09. Joe Burrow, negative 0.13. So you put that in context, and the people above him. Now, Baker's had a solid year. Jalen Hurts, 0.09. CJ Stroud, 0.1. Stafford, 0.1. So putting that in perspective, it hasn't been like, okay, that's the clear reason why this offense stinks. I do think that he's an issue. He hasn't played up to his contract. He hasn't played up to his capability, and it's hurting this franchise. And when you're giving that much money out, there's a real issue. But to replace him with Jarrett Stidham, that just feels like a backwards move to me. I think you have to see if this thing's going to work. And like you said, they could get to the point where Peyton's like, okay, screw it. I'm doing replacement index myself. But I think for me, as I'm looking at the situation right now, I would not replace Russell Wilson. I don't think there's an upside for going to Jarrett Stidham.
No, I'm projecting going forward here for sure. I would not. I wouldn't take Russ off the field for anybody else they have on the roster right now. But an interesting one, because I know people are sitting at home or in their cars right now, and they're like, well, nobody's going to take Russell Wilson. Like, that contract is there to stay. I think there's a pretty good chance that like somebody like Atlanta's giving you a phone call here and seeing if we can grab this guy for minimal draft capital and we can talk ourselves into this. Because Arthur Smith is going to keep his job on the strength of Desmond Ridder's not very good. And maybe Arthur Blank just says, all right, then go pick who you want. And this is going to be one of the only guys that's quietly available that you can talk yourself into.
Well, that's going to do it for our first edition of Replacement Alex. That was good. I mean, we got a lot of stuff getting done there.
A couple kids that took, enough business classes in college to know the words and not really know what they mean. And look at us, dude.
Yeah, sign a 1 through 5 value. That gets you into Harvard, apparently. No stock up or stock down for us this week. There is just a crazy week. We just said, these weeks happen in the NFL. I think it was hard to gauge. At least that was my thought process. I think you were similar there, Tyson, as well.
Well, I don't know, to do a stock down and talk about the good teams and then just say it doesn't matter feels disingenuous.
Yeah, I agree with that. Anything in money making time? Are you looking at anything? I was going to give out the Saints. That's moved back from 3 to 1.5. I think the idea is that Trevor Lawrence might play, so I'm going to keep an eye on that. I don't want to give anything out now, not knowing anything. But that's a Thursday night game, so we're going to have to know info quick.
Yeah, I don't want to touch anything until these injury reports that are getting longer and longer pop out at least middle of the week, because Debo and Christian McCaffrey might play. They might not play, right? Lane Johnson's probably going to play, but he might not. And so I don't want to, this is a get right spot here for one of these teams. And then 2 of their best players are on IR. I'm not interested.
Yeah, that is fair. Okay, but I'm going to dive into that. If I do decide to play it, where can they find that?
It's on the Chalkboard app, App Store, Google Play, wherever you download your apps. Group name, ISWIS, presents the Roundtable Bets. We'll let you write in. It's free. It's Brad. Brad's been hitting some ridiculous parlays here to start the NFL season. So when you sit here on our Thursday show and he tries to tell you about how he's down 3 units this year, that's him betting straight up. The kid is out here whooping parlays, and that's the only place you're going to find him is in the Chalkboard app. And it's not just Brad and myself throwing picks. It's a whole bunch of people. So hop in there and let us know who's scoring the first touchdown in the morning slate there, and we can all buy a house together.
Absolutely. In the meantime, as usual, like, subscribe, and share. Watching on YouTube, smash that like button. Send a comment in the chat as well. We'll answer it on YouTube. If you have any questions, we'll put it up on the episode next. If you want us to answer anything in particular, we will do that. Same if you're listening in podcast form. Go ahead and rate and review. And if you like a comment or you want to ask us anything, we'll put that up on here as well. Follow us on our socials, X, Instagram, TikTok. It's all the same at ISWIS_pod. We'll be back middle of the week for the college football episode. Big games this weekend, especially for me, especially for my alma mater. So we'll get into that, preview and everything on that front. So make sure to tune into that. We'll talk to you then. Peace.